Hi, honors students for Dr. Bear. So this video is for the honors students in Dr. Bear's section of Psych 230. And today I'm going to be going over your Raising a Reader data. And so I wanted to point out some of the places you're going to look for files. So one of the files you're going to want to pull up is the output file. I'm also going to add an annotated output file that we're going to create today. You're also going to click on the survey form. The survey form, when you open it up, it's going to have this weird download and a date, and it's just I used a scanner to bring it in, but this is going to be a really helpful guide as you're interpreting the output. And so the purpose of the video today is to review the Raising a Reader data to assist you in putting together that poster presentation, which I will turn around and be sharing with AZCEND. So this is the Raising a Reader form that you're going to download. You're going to see there's a site name, there's the date the original information was taken. You're going to see they also collected the kid's birth date, their gender, their initials. They then ask them a series of questions, asking them all at the same time, which isn't the best practice, but I guess the most efficient. After they've completed the program, and they usually take this survey, the closing of the program, and then they need to think back to before the program. So each one of these, you'll see in the Jamovi output, I've got different question numbers and different codes. So Q1A refers to question 1 after response. Q1B is question 1 before response. So anytime you see an A after something, it refers to after. Anytime you see a B for something, that refers to before. So you can see that there's 6 general questions, and then I have a series for 7. It's actually going to be a multi-item scale. So you'll see there's a 7 tote A and a 7 tote B. And then there's a page 2 that had an 8 tote A and an 8 tote B. And again, that's because question A is a multi-item. And then again, you've got Q9, Q10, Q11 to Q12. Q13 is language. Q14 is ethnicity. And Q15 is income. And then there's one question at the end if English is second language in the home. And that was determined by, did they receive this questionnaire and fill this questionnaire as Spanish or as English? So if we entered the data based on a Spanish form, we would have went ahead and put English as the second language. Okay, so that is your form. And again, it's great to have it handy to pull it up as you're going through each one of these questions. So here's our data file, and you can see that I started off looking at this 7 tote A and 7 tote B. And so these are our multi-item scales. Again, you can go back to the form and kind of look at them. This is showing you that there is some missing data. There's a number of families when filling this out either didn't fill out information about the after, or they forgot to flip the survey over and fill out page 2. So these ends are going to be important to report because they're all varying because they did not get 100% compliance in filling these out. For 7 tote A, for 7 tote and 7 and 8 tote, these were again multi-item measures. So 7 total had 6 different responses on with a lowest score of 0 and a max score of 3. And then 8 tote had 4 total items with a lowest score of 0 for each one, a max score of 3. So the highest would have been 12 for 8 and would have been 18 for 7. So then you can go ahead and see that we have the median and we have the standard deviation reported for each one of these. I went ahead and included the median just for a general looking at consistency. When you look for assumptions of normality, which are needed for the analyses we're going to run, you're going to see that they're in the okay range. Remember, a score of 0 means that you've got that perfect normal distribution. And so again, these are going to be important numbers to be interpreting. One of the things we're going to do is we're going to ask, are there behavioral differences between before they participated in the Raising a Reader program and after? And so we're going to be looking for differences between numbers. For data we can run numbers on. So we can run numbers for these two. All right, so let me go through and give you some more descriptives. This is more of our demographics. So just put a demographics here. And with our demographics, we can see, again, we still have some missing data. And for income level and English as a second language, English as a second language, 1 equals yes, it was, and 0 equals no. And so you can see the majority of people do not have English as a second language. Income level had 3 different categories. You can refer back to the sheet, but the most common was the lowest income bracket for the categories that were given. Again, some people chose not to fill that out. And then they have a reported ethnicity. Again, ethnicity has some categories, language has some categories, gender has some categories, and then sites were all the different sites that were involved in this. So here are the different sites. So this is their Chandler site. This is the Gilbert site at AZCEND. So these are 2 that you had toured on our initial tour. A is for Ahwatukee. This is for Tiny Tots on the west side, which was more Mesa, I think. And then Tiny Tots Queen Creek. And I'm not sure why these 2 Tiny Tots Queen Creek weren't put together, but I believe that these are both the same. So I'll have to go back and look at the data, but that would be 2. So this just gives you a general idea of where their programs are and who's in what program. So again, the Gilbert has the Giggles, Wiggles, and Squirms, so that's why you would expect they have the majority of there. Okay, so then you have gender here, and it's a fairly equal distribution between those. And then we have our language, and this is language spoken in the home. And you can see E is English, S is Spanish, ES is English and Spanish, and O is other. Then we're going to go through ethnicity. Again, all these different abbreviations can be connected back to the form. And again, it's just to give you a general background. This one is Hispanic, Latino, and that's where we're seeing the majority of participants. Income level, again, if you go back to the form, this gives you the breakdown. ESL, English language, English is the second language, is where we're at with that. And then I did include some plots, although I'm not sure they're going to be very informative for you for your participation for your poster presentation, but they are there. So now we're moving into the questions. So this, again, you're going to have to go back and look at the form to identify what was question 1 asking. Again, A is after, B is before. What was question 5 asking? 9 asking, 10 asking, 11 asking, and 12 asking. And I put these all together because a lot of these were yes or no questions or had very few categories connected to them. And so then you can kind of go through and identify the different responses. So I broke those down. For question 5, there was an error in the data entry that I saw, and I had to go back in and look what was going on there. So I added and corrected those actual counts that where they should be. Question 9 was asking more about how often they're reading. I think it's minutes, but again, you're going to have to go back and look before and after to interpret that. Same kind of thing with question 10. Question 12 was a yes or no, and then I included some plots. And then we had a couple more questions. So these questions were asking more about having them fill in the blank about how often they read or how many minutes they read. Again, go back to the form. So this is question 2, before and after and before. Question 3, after and before. Question 4, after and before. Question 6, after and before. And then again, you did have some people who didn't quite fill that out. So I'm going to be adding in the means here for these 3 because you are able to calculate means and standard deviations for those more open-ended questions. The heart of ours, looking at differences between the before and after, unfortunately the only variables we can look at that for using our repeated measures ANOVA or a paired t-test is 7-tote and 8-tote. So question 7, I ran first, and you can see it's significantly different. You can see that it's about 9% of the variance going on for that R squared. So 9% of the variance in reading responses, it is attributed to those before and after times, which still means there's variance going on there that's unexplained, 92% or so of it. This is the graph showing those differences between those 2 groups. So this is the before, this is the after. Again, repeated measures, ANOVA or the paired t-test. I could have also ran that. The paired t-test, both of these, you need to have both data points for each person. And so if you go back, you can see that not everybody was put into the model. Then you've got our repeated measures for question 8. Oops. Our repeated measures for question 8. Again, you even have fewer participants for question 8 because it was on the back side, and some families missed that. You do see it's significant, but again, it's only explaining about 3% of the variance, so 97% of the variance that's going on in those reading behaviors for before and after is not really being explained by time. So there's other stuff going on. I did put in gender and English as a second language to see if those were impacting anything, and they were not significant covariates. So I went ahead and took those out of the model. And you can see, again, here's that graph showing the mean for your before and your after groups. And again, those numbers for all of that, for your means and standard deviations, for your question 7 and question 8 are reported up here. So this is your output. So you guys are going to work as a group and figure out and kind of dissect this, interpret it, and share in your poster presentations. And then I'm going to be sharing that out with AZCEND. So please be in touch should you guys have questions, and I look forward to your projects.